Hello. I know this is not Limbus Company. I mean, it kind of is because it's Limbus on Roblox, but the point is that this is a Limbus Company Roblox game or a game on Roblox that's Limbus Company. Either way, it's just a game on Roblox that's based off of Limbus Company, and more importantly, it's a Battlegrounds game. I think the game is super cool personally, and I've had a bunch of fun playing this with friends, and don't touch public lobbies like with any Battlegrounds games. I do not touch public lobbies with them. I personally prefer them in smaller groups with friends, but that's just me. Anyways, with that being said, I hope you enjoy my little review of this game. Limbus game on Roblox is a huge breath of fresh air compared to other Roblox Battlegrounds games, at least in my opinion. And this video is mostly just going to be talking about my opinion on the game, why it's so good, and why you should play it too. To begin, let's actually just, get some backstory in the game. Let's talk about what it's based off of. Limbus Company. Pulled directly from Wikipedia because I'm lazy. Limbus Company is an indie strategy role-playing game for Microsoft Windows and mobile devices using iOS or Android, developed and published by South Korean studio Project Moon. It was released worldwide on February 26, 2023. The game is set in the same dystopian hyper-capitalist world only known as the City, where all of Project Moon's other works take place, including Lobotomy Corporation, Library of Arena, and multiple webcomics such as Leviathan and The Distortion Detective, but takes place sometime after the events of all of these stories. The game contains gacha elements, making it possible to spend real money to acquire Lunacy, the in-game currency, or tickets used to acquire new senior identities or their respective extermination of geometrical organ, ego. That's a mouthful. Outside of the base units given to the player. Director Kim Ji-hoon claimed during a Q&A session that this was necessary to both fund and explore making new Project Moon games, such as a currently unnamed third-person action RPG set in the city and a live service game that will expand the fanbase and keep them entertained in between full retail releases. Well, that's your Project Moon lore. With that out of the way, let's start off with the actual playable characters in the game. Listing them off, we have Regret, Bone, Ahab, Lantern, Wild Hunt, Ryoshu, L3 Cleanup Captain, The One Who Shall Grip, and La Creatura Terra. It sounds confusing at first, but Regret is Regret Faust, Ahab is Captain Ishmael, Wild Hunt is Wild Hunt Heathcliff, Ryoshu is Ryoshu, L3 Cleanup Captain is Otis, The One Who Shall Grip is Sinclair, and La Creatura is just Dawn. On to the gameplay mechanics, we have many similarities between the OG game and this Battleground game here. First off is health. This one is pretty obvious. Health, or HP, is the red bar and correlated number under your character. Health determines how much damage a unit can take before they are killed in combat. The objective of the game here is just to reduce your opponent's health to 0. If the health of your character is reduced to 0, you lose. Alright, it's pretty simple, right? Next, we have Sanity. Sanity is the main factor that can determine the outcome of your encounter, or fight, I guess. Sanity points, or just SP, are represented as a number that can be seen on the right next to the unit's health bar. The location varies because this is a 3D game, but you'll want to look for that little ball next to your player health. Sanity is determined through several interactions that occur in and out of combat and has a valid range of minus 45 to 45. It can't go any higher or lower than that. If it does, then your game broke. Each point of sanity corresponds to a 1% change to the head's flipping chance. For example, a unit with 27 SP would have a 77% chance to flip heads, while a unit with minus 33 SP would have a 17% chance to flip heads. In most, if not all cases here, all characters here should start with 0 SP. The most common way to increase SP is by winning clashes or defeating enemies, and the most common ways to decrease SP is by being hit by sinking-based attacks or being parried. When I say winning clashes, I just defeat enemies. Minus 45 sanity will cause you to panic and be stunned for a short duration, while low morale leaves you with very low chances of hitting heads. Next, let's move on to stagger. Stagger thresholds are represented by a small line on the health bar of allies and enemies alike. When a player takes enough damage that a stagger threshold is surpassed, excluding damage from like bleed or other external sources, the player will become staggered and be unable to use their skills for a short duration. Additionally, a staggered player will have all their physical resistances changed to fatal during the stun. Next, on to clashes. This one's kind of weird and iffy in my opinion because these tend to happen very randomly, unlike the base game where clashes are literally the holy grail of Limbus Company, the main mechanic. Clashing is when two attacks hit each other at the same time, or when you block and shoo away someone's attack. I wouldn't say just to solely rely on clashing people's attack as the way to win or anything, but just know that sometimes your attack will and can be shoved away by your opponents or vice versa. Heck, both of you might be knocked down without realizing it. Finally, the most important mechanic, at least in my opinion, shields, and by proxy, parrying. All you need to know is that F is for block, and blocking at just the right moment will do a perfect block. A parry of sorts. Doing this awards you some SP and actually takes away SP away from the attacker. And I think with those out of the way, the game itself should be pretty self-explanatory from here. TLDR, your main goal is just to be having high SP, keep your health high, and avoid stagger or death, and to manage your skill cooldowns carefully, and you'll be fine. Now onto my actual opinion and review piece of the game. This game is really awesome. It's a dream come true as a Limbus / Project Moon fan to see Limbus Company represented not only so well in Roblox, but in a way that just transcends what it normally is. It's an RPG, yet here we are PvPing each other like a true Battlegrounds game. The mechanics are pretty fun, the combat is actually decently fluid too, and the clash sounds are very satisfying. The UI is rather simple and easy to understand. All around, just a great Battlegrounds game. I highly recommend this pretty underrated gem. Now, I do have a few problems with the game, because nothing is perfect, namely the UI and combat. While I said the UI was simple and easy to understand, it does kind of become hard to read sometimes, and I personally think just the coins and other parts of the skill visuals can get in the way or just become straight up hard to read. The combat is great, but that doesn't leave it without issue. Sometimes it can get slow or boring due to waiting for long cooldowns, and this isn't really a fault of Limbus game, more so just the Battlegrounds genre entirely. Unless you are adept with managing cooldowns, you're going to end up dashing around, blocking, running away a lot, and that can get boring and be unfun for a new player. And even if you're not new and you don't know a character or their cooldowns, it could be pretty upsetting. Other than those two complaints, I think the game has very high potential, and it's still actually in a whip, so I would love to see add more characters, mechanics, or just become overall more polished in general. With that being said, I hope you enjoy my little review on this game. I'm no aficionado of Battlegrounds games, nor Limbus Company, so take what I said with a grain of salt. With that, I take my leave.